County, San Francisco, they missed out on the revenue. All the parking was revenue.
They approved the new stadium, but they're moving around.
So they'll be taking you up to through the town and up to the dome. Yes, the cathedral. Well worth visiting. Stick your head in the door and have a look. And then afterwards you'll have free time to wander around town and do a little bit of the S word.
Shopping.
You know, my mother said never use 4-letter words. Like shop.
It's not a 4-letter word.
Yes, it is. Shop is a 4-letter word.
It's an 8-letter word. Shopping.
Oh, you're talking about the full activity. I don't know. Yeah. So, yeah, there's nice shops in Bamberg. In fact, it is. I mean, Sabina said last night that what do they call them? Port talk, is it? Port talk. Port. I came in to see the port talk. That was funny. Like. So, she's going to, well, basically Bamberg is one of the prettiest, as she said, the prettiest town in Bavaria. Now, if you said that in the streets of Bavaria, you get stoned. You know, Bavaria is a pretty tough. How many, I'm guessing there's quite a lot of people from the southern hemisphere here, judging by some of the words I heard a minute ago. Yeah, some of you from Australia, I guess, and some of you New Zealand. Any Americans?
American.
Yeah, okay, well, for the Americans, Australians and New Zealanders may have heard of Texas. Some of the Americans might know Texas. Yeah? Bavaria is like the German version of Texas. You know, they're a state apart. They are something a little different to the rest of Germany. As Bavarians are famous for all kinds of things. Once known as the thieving folk. Not kidding, that was the definition of the dictionary. Yeah? The Brothers Grimm. Anybody ever heard of the Brothers Grimm? Yeah? Yeah, they're famous for their fairy tales, but in fact their biggest contribution to the literary world, any guesses? First dictionary.
Yes.
That's what they were, that's how they did that. They went around, they were getting German words to put in a dictionary. And then when they went around, they ended up talking to a whole load of more or less Huguenot women who told them stories. I mean, you never listen to a woman who's telling you tales. Did I mention my girlfriend? No. But no, the Huguenot women, they told a whole lot of tales. So those Grimm's fairy tales that everybody thinks are German are they're more or less borderline German-French stories. They're sort of traditional stories from this region. Maybe a little further to the east, to the west, I mean. But yeah. So the Grimm's fairy tales. But they went around doing this dictionary. And then somehow, some monk. So the Bayevaran came here after the Great Migration about 700 years ago. They decided to come down here. They figured this piece of land was okay and they took it. Yeah? Drove off the people who were here originally. But a monk who was living here at the time, the Bayevaran, they kept on stealing his cattle out of the monastery, and they literally, out of spite, in a medieval version of a Bible, described them as the thieving folk, and that hung on in the German dictionary until 1890 when they revised the German dictionaries. So most Bavarians are known as the thieving folk. It's not true. Not very much anyway. Unless you're in Rotenburg or in Bamberg, you go into the shops and you see the prices. Oh my god. Scary. Scary. That's when you know where the crooks really went. Some of them are in politics and the rest are shopkeepers. But here in Bavaria, they're actually the most productive. And on top of that, what really kills them is they have the most vacation days of all Germans here in Bavaria. Because the German law said, okay, because he couldn't really make laws to fit everybody, they said, okay, each state has vacations. So the average German worker, when he signs his first contract, and you're going to hate this, has 28 days of vacation. Paid vacation. The first day he signs a contract, he's 18 years old, you sign a contract, you have 28 days of vacation. Certainly those of you coming from the States are right now just about to get sick. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
For the people from Australia, let's face it, that's just a week. That's not much at all. Half of them are up here for 3 months before they even go back. Don't know what it's like in New Zealand, but I can't imagine it's too much different. Yeah. So, on top of that then, so that they can make it even or fair, they said, okay, plus your religious holidays. So, up in Lutheran Hamburg, where they're staunchly Lutheran, they have a whole 3 religious holidays. That's counting Christmas and Easter, okay? So, not a lot of days off extra. Did I mention something about the Catholics? have a huge collection of. They have 12 more religious vacation days than me. So they manage on the day you sign your contract here. It's not just 28. It's 40 days of vacation. 40 days of vacation. Yeah. And then on top of it, they turn out. Now, can you imagine why the people of Hamburg are really, really sick to their stomachs? Because this is the most productive part of Germany. They have the most vacation time. They do nothing, and they make the most money. Yeah. Yeah. That's why unemployment in Bavaria is more or less around 4%, varies a little from town to town. But if you went to Munich, it's like 3% unemployment. That's actually bad for the country. Yeah, that's so little unemployment that they actually have to hire people in and pay more money to people. You know, it's great if you're working here. You know, if you're an employer here, it's not so good for you. Try and look for somebody, and when you do look for somebody, you just about pay them, and then the next guy is paying him more to go to use his place. You know, so it's sort of tough for employers here at the moment. Big employers here are, of course, like BMW, Siemens. Anybody ever heard of Siemens? Yeah, Siemens. I'm sure you all have something from Siemens in your house. All right, other things. Silicon Valley of Germany is here. Between Augsburg and Munich is the biggest Silicon Valley, so the computer area in Europe, although the English would argue with that. The English, in fact, have one town, I think it's Sheffield, that is actually larger as one city, but between the two of them, Augsburg and Munich, which are right beside each other, they actually have more companies in that sense. So, you know the way it goes. So here again we have the Regnitz, the Leber Regnitz, a little bigger than it was when we passed over earlier on. It's made as part of the canal, exactly the Rhine-Main-Donau Canal, which is why, in a sense, our boat will be going past here sooner or later in the next couple of days. The question is only when, not if.
Egal, der Dach kostet 10 Euro. Wo ich eine Stunde stehe oder egal, das ist doch kein Problem.
Hier kommt das Finanzamt, ne? Oder was ist das hier? This is the Department of Justice here. The courtrooms. And the Department of Finance is here nearby as well. Wilhelmsplatz. Run her over. So we're coming along Friedrichstraße now. Yeah.
Also in anderen Worten, hier oben rechts ist da irgendwo eine Treppenplan. Ist das falsch?
Soll ich dir jetzt recht geben?
Hey, ich frage, nicht bevor ich wie ein Depp hier stehe. Das kann ich schon genug alleine. Wenn du meine Freundin fragst, Messerschmidt.
Ja,
Da denke ich mir, also dann fahr, wenn du so um, sagen wir mal 5:45 Uhr, wollen die da vielleicht 10 Minuten vorher da bist, müsste es passen. Oder fragt die Stadtführerin.
2,600 historical buildings listed. Don't worry, you don't have to see them all. Good landmark to find that place again. You see here on that corner, that small yellowish house, Hotel Messerschmitt. Does it ring any bells? Yeah. That is his birthplace, and he constructed Willy Messerschmitt, of course, he constructed the first plane here in the cellar of that house. Today it's a hotel, and they sell quite good wine. Well, around the corner is Lange Straße. We'll end up at Lange Straße, so it will be no problem at all to find that place again. No one has to remember his way now, okay? So we'll cross over, please. We passed by the market garden, this town by bus, only you couldn't have seen those gardens, so that we did in a helicopter. For your spare time, for those who die for shopping, whatever. You have some shops here, big departments for Karstadt next to the church right there to the right. For the case you need whatever, they might have it. Okay, see better that way who is missing how many
Town Hall.
Those were very rich people, as you can imagine, well, I've told you, 14th century. One of them was we call it that way because those houses standing on oak, on wooden piles in the river, as they do in Venice as well. Only we cannot see that wood anymore today because in 19th century people have built kind of small gardens right in front of their houses, as you see yourself. It used to be fishermen's houses. They were established between 15 and 1700. Therefore, you have such a variety of architecture here. On the houses' facades, you see some have very small, very thin balconies. Other ones, like for example that huge one with a wooden facade and big wide windows, is a kind of winter garden. In further times, it used to be working galleries because those fishermen, they didn't have any space for their nets to let it dry or repair, so they did it from those galleries. When the sun is shining all the time, they have sunshine all day long. But you even cannot put a sun chair on such a thin balcony, and therefore many have been rebuilt into winter gardens in 60. It's not flooded. I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question. I thought you meant how deep the river is.
Oh, yeah. It's a high watermark.
Yeah, exactly. It's a watermark. Look here, 1784. That was bad. The town had 9 bridges that time. After that flooding, only 2 were left. So you can imagine how glad we are. We're praying to heaven every day, thankful to have. In further times, they didn't have any numbers. That came much more later. And such a sign was for the address, simply. The house next to it was the house to the left of the house to the Easterland. It's called the house to the Easterland, 1357. Or 2 houses behind it, or to the right, whatever. Yeah.